something that they are trying to do. It's a great feeling.
Anytime a visitor walks into a classroom, there is an assigned student greeter for the day, and that student will come up, shake your hand, and welcome you into the classroom. Also, as a parent, it's just really great sometimes to get phone calls that not only tell you that your child didn't do something great, that they really did accomplish something. And as a parent of a special needs child, I can tell you that sometimes a teacher will call me and say, okay, this is the teacher from Combs, and I'm like, okay, is everything okay? And they'll go, you know, Tiffany really accomplished something fantastic today, and they're proud, and I'm proud as well. It's just a very warm feeling when you walk in the door.
That was a great video, and thank you, Donna, for introducing climate. We'd also like to thank the faculty, staff, students, and parents of A.B. Combs Elementary for allowing us to visit. Now, while you were watching that video, we were joined on set by two of our colleagues. So let's introduce them now to our audience. First, we have Cindy Ba Mert. She's a parent leader and student mentor. And joining Cindy, we have Helmer Duverge, who is a senior English as a second language specialist at NCFL. We're going to turn to you first, Helmer, to discuss communication.
Thank you, John. A key component of school climate is communication. Every piece of communication issued by a school sets the tone for the school-family relationship. If your school's communications are positive and respectful, clear, student-centered, and family-oriented, they will go a long way towards engaging your parents. On the other hand, if you primarily communicate with families about problems, or if you fail to understand cultural or language differences, you may be creating a negative atmosphere without meaning to. So keep communication two-way. Families from other countries may be used to a different protocol for parent-teacher interaction, so guidance may be needed. Prior to the start of each year, consider what you want to ask of parents. Think in terms of how you're helping the families, not how the families can help the school. No single communication strategies will reach everyone. Use multiple approaches, such as notes home in backpacks, newsletters mailed home, school websites, emails, and phone calls. Cardinal Valley Elementary in Lexington, Kentucky is an elementary school whose student demographics over 4 years changed from 20 to 60% Hispanic Latino, demanding a new approach. Let's hear what Principal Matt Perkins has to say about communicating with all parents.
My name is Matt Perkins. I'm the principal at Cardinal Valley Elementary School in Lexington, Kentucky. Cardinal Valley is an exciting and unusual school full of 612 extremely bright kids who just happen to be about 60% Hispanic. Of that group, 55% are ESL, and we are at about 95% free or reduced price lunch. Those are some exceptional barriers that some people look at as excuses. In my third year as the principal, we have been able to really address student achievement at Cardinal Valley Elementary. And a big reason why we have been able to be successful is because of our focus on family and parent involvement. The parent involvement piece was so important to our school because, as I have said, most of our communication was only in English. So parents would show up to parent nights or parent events or open houses and only get the information in English. So I immediately started translating all of our parent nights into English and Spanish and making sure that we had translators at every parent conference, at every after-school activity, at every before-school activity, and started inviting parents into our school, giving all of our communication in Spanish and English, and then finding out who our families really were in order to start meeting their needs, which is another big part of what we do. On the first professional development day with my teachers, I told them I had just one activity for them to do, which was to simply call home and welcome every child with every parent at the house. It was amazing. The same teachers who were so worried about making that phone call came back to me the next day or the next week and said, I want to be honest with you, I was wrong, I didn't think it was going to work, and I called home and I couldn't get anybody who spoke English. But I did get in touch with one of my students I had 4 years ago, who is the brother of my student I have this year, who's now at the high school. We had a great talk, we got caught up on what they're doing, and they relayed the message to the household that I was happy to have their child in my classroom. It was amazing. At the first parent night we had, we had to literally shut the place down. We had over 500 parents in our building the first night that we had our first parent open house. The school had never seen anything like that before. It was one of those wonderful disasters where we were running around trying to meet everyone's needs. We didn't have near enough handouts. Everything was just at a loss. And we laughed and we had some of the best time ever because it was one of the first times that the community had really all come together in one place. And what better place for that than the school? Having parents come to school is one thing. Having them support their children's learning is another whole conversation. We actually have targeted parents that we bring into our school, have family literacy nights where we teach our parents by modeling and demonstrating literacy strategies with their kids, doing book walks, doing character identification, estimating what's going to happen later on in the book, all of those things. And we model all of that with our parents and kids. We then send home the books and we send home the cards, which we laminate, we put on a ring, and they have the same strategies to remind the parents how to work with their kids at home. And with that, we're doing what a lot of schools don't quite get to, which is saying, look, it's okay to teach our parents what we want them to really do at night. Now, what we do next is we follow up and we make sure that our parents are doing what we've asked them to do by having repeat nights and having a parent and teacher communication log every night that it shows that the parents have signed off, that they've followed through with those strategies with their children.
Principal Matt Perkins provides some practical advice about communication that has helped to focus the families in the school on student achievement. In summary, some practical solutions for communications are to make sure that the school's self-assessment includes a focus on communication. The committee can look at the school mission. Do the words parents or families appear anywhere? If not, consider rewriting the mission to include these important audiences. Look at the school website. Do the words parents or families appear anywhere on the home page? If you have a large number of families that speak a different language, do you have anything written in that language? Ask some parent leaders to walk through the campus to assess the family friendliness of signage. How many negative or corrective messages appear versus positive, encouraging messages? What's the first impression you get at the entrance and in the school office? How has the school dealt with other languages spoken by your school's parents? Have parents who call the school with questions report on the friendliness of the staff who answer the phone. Give encouragement to those who do a good job. Pull together the last 2 months of written communication sent home to families. Ask parent leaders to review and provide feedback. What is the ratio of positive, encouraging messages to negative messages? Is the focus on learning? How often is there academic jargon that is unclear? Did you know you can use common word processing software to assess the readability of sample communication? Most communications should rate no higher than 5th grade reading level. Finally, get help. If you have large numbers of families who speak another language or who represent a culture that differs from the staff or faculty, find someone in the community to translate or advise you on cultural issues that may enable positive communications.
Thank you so much, Helmert. I know that was helpful for our audience. Now it's time to turn to our colleague, Cindy Ba Mert. Cindy is a parent leader in Kentucky. Cindy, you're uniquely qualified to talk about relationships.
Thanks, John. And I think that's right. And it's my pleasure to be here today to talk about an area that I feel strongly about, relationships. As in any relationship, with students and parents, you have to demonstrate over and over that you care, that you'll do what you say, and that you know what you're doing. Relationship building between schools, students, and families takes time. Relationships are built on trust, and establishing that trust is a long-term proposition. Therefore, it's important to establish school routines and guidelines for relationship building opportunities with parents. It's advisable to get to know parents outside the context of a specific problem a child may be having. Learn about the strengths and deficits that the family can bring to the learning process and who the family members are. Provide flexible schedules so parents can participate in school events and make periodic phone or email contact to continue building those relationships. In the research synthesis that Laura Westberg mentioned at the beginning of the webcast, Henderson and Matt found that the simplest approaches work best for teacher outreach to families. In one study, just meeting face-to-face, sending parents materials on ways to help children at home, and telephoning, both routinely and when a child is having a problem, were linked to math and reading gains in an elementary school. These aren't surprising or exotic approaches, but they do require planning and time. Go into homes and neighborhoods where your families live. In Jessamine County in Kentucky, a school bus takes middle school teachers into neighborhoods each July to deliver schedules and supply lists and meet students and parents. Teachers dress in shorts and school t-shirts and make the day a fun, casual community event. Families wait at their school bus stops and meet the teachers in their neighborhoods before the first day of school. Besides building relationships, this event takes some of the pressure off the first day of school. In a Pennsylvania district, kindergarten teachers take red wagons loaded with lemonade into neighborhoods to meet every incoming student and their family during the summer. Families and children sip lemonade with their teachers and reduce any uncertainties that the students may have. Make a positive preemptive strike. It helps if the first interaction is positive rather than negative. Yet many times the first time a teacher calls a parent is in response to a problem that the child is having in class. For some families, this is the only time that they get a call, when there is a problem. Many schools make it a practice for teachers to contact every parent personally at the beginning of school to deliver a friendly message before problems arise. That way, parents and teachers begin to build a relationship on a positive note and can be more receptive if problems arise later. One first grade teacher calls every family with an informal good report on each student sometime during the year, and she tracks these calls in her grade book to ensure that she's called every student's family at least once. Build positive relationships up front.
Thanks, Cindy. That was really great. Let's take a moment to soak in all of this information. So far, we've heard about 3 of the 6 areas in the NCFL Parent Involvement Framework: climate, communication, and relationships. One of the ways to help educators become prepared to address issues related to parent involvement is through teacher preparation programs. So please take a moment to answer our next polling question about teacher preparation programs. How strongly do you agree or disagree with the following statement? In my school, district, or state, teachers and administrators receive adequate pre-service training in ways to effectively involve parents in their children's learning. We'll get back to you with our responses after we explore more of the parental involvement framework. Laura, I believe you're going to tell us about the next area, information and strategies.
That's right, John, I am. When we talk about information and strategies, we are referring both to educators learning effective ways to work with parents and parents accessing information and strategies for ways to support their children's learning. Teachers need to learn ways to partner effectively with all parents, regardless of the home language, culture, literacy level, or ideas of how parent-school relationships should look. Schools can help teachers do this by making ongoing systematic professional development available for school staff. Every school should have a professional development plan that scaffolds new knowledge onto prior knowledge and skills. Topics might include an all-staff customer service training, a focus on communications with parents, using multiple strategies, being clear, having a positive tone and focus on what each individual child is doing and learning. Explaining policy requirements, such as accountability requirements from No Child Left Behind. Explaining testing data and what to expect in an IEP meeting. Schools can determine how to tap the wealth of knowledge and skills within your parent population. Considering that we know the importance of parent involvement in raising student achievement, it's interesting that very few of us have been prepared for this facet of our jobs. Professional development in this area is a critical need. Research tells us a lot about what parents need to know and best ways for sharing information and strategies. One of these is that schools should provide regular parent education opportunities for parents. Some of the topics schools might include in these parent education opportunities are tips for helping with homework, learning strategies so that rather than learning about specific content, parents learn ways to help their children use different learning strategies effectively, You don't have to know early American history to be able to help your child learn how to get the main idea, summarize, look for clues in pictures and charts, read headings and strategies for understanding new words. Parents' education opportunities can also help them learn about the school culture, things such as schedules, roles, responsibilities, and the basic language of education. Parents should also know what good quality work looks like for their child's grade level. If this is a C, what does A work look like? Many of us never saw a rubric when we were in school. What does a rubric mean for my child? Parents need to understand the data, particularly about their own child's performance. Most importantly, parents need to learn specific ways to help their student improve where there is need. Schools can share information in printed form, during conferences, in one-hour training sessions, and insert it into school events. An open house can include a 5-minute demonstration with supporting handouts. Be flexible and creative. Use a variety of strategies to share information with parents. One size will not fit all. We have some parents and educators whom we interviewed about this information and strategies.
One of the things that I heard when we were having those forums across the state is that principals really need to engage around this issue, because we know in so many cases administrators set the tone in terms of how the school values certain things and their priorities. And so one of our collaborations is with our principals executive program, where we will be working directly with principals to provide them with essential information around the importance of parent and parent involvement and why this is a compelling strategy for them to use.
And I'd like to say, too, that I think that's so critical to involve your leadership, because right now it is very stressful to be a school principal. There are many demands in terms of raising test scores. And in order for a school to really buy in and the leadership to really buy into the fact that we need to place this emphasis on parent involvement, they have to feel a compelled need to do so based on the fact that it improves student achievement. So that link is really showing that link, because the research evidence is compelling, and that is really sometimes the one thing that will push a school on up when they've tried so many things that really might not have worked. I think the organization is a key piece, because there are many efforts out there, but I think what we're doing here is building power for our parent involvement program in the state by pulling together different people's visions, by educating both the educators and the community about how to become involved in the school level. So I think that organizational piece is just going to be a big help to all of us, because we can come together and put our efforts together to be more effective overall.
I would like to see some kind of handbook or something written for parents, a brochure, especially for parents that have children that have special needs, for IEP meetings. I know that myself, when I had to go to my first one, and I've worked in the schools and been around the schools, I walked in, I was very intimidated because it wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be me and the teacher and I, and I walk into a room with 20 people, and it was like the assistant principal or the principal and the special ed teacher, and it was like all these people, and then they're all just throwing information at me. And it was very intimidating. I was just sitting there going, oh man, I think that we need to prepare parents more and teach them what all these words mean, like IEP and everything, because it really, you sit there and you don't want to look stupid and ask questions in front of all these people that are educators, and so you kind of leave going, what was this all about? So I think it would really help if we had a way of preparing parents for meetings at school. And the other thing I would like to work with parents on is how to communicate with the school. A lot of times parents immediately when they call, they don't get an answer right away. I'm going to call the school board, and they start getting angry instead of learning to work with the school. My idea of an ideal school would be that they had more of a flexible schedule. I think a lot of parents nowadays, especially migrant parents or Hispanic parents, are working evenings. I think we should have, instead of a teacher work day, maybe have it available on that day for parents to come in instead of always having everything at night. I think having everything at night excludes a lot of parents. So my ideal high school would have some daytime options and nighttime.
Well, I hope you found that video helpful to understanding the topic of information and strategies. And nice job, Laura, on helping us to understand that key area of the NCFL framework for parental involvement. Now it's time to turn to the polling results. In the middle of the webcast, we asked you to respond to how strongly you agree or disagree to the following statement. In my school, district, or state, teachers and administrators receive adequate pre-service training in ways to effectively involve parents in their children's learning. We can now report that, unfortunately, 4% strongly agree and only 11% agree with that statement, whereas 67% disagree. And as an educator with several education degrees, I have to unfortunately admit that I was not really prepared either to deal with the topic of parental involvement. Before we head into the discussion on the challenges educators and parents alike face in terms of involving more parents in their children's learning, please take a minute to rate how strongly you agree or disagree to our final polling question. In the presentations we've just experienced, we've learned the value of continued professional development focused on high-quality parental involvement. In your experience, please consider this final polling question. In my school, district, or state, teachers and administrators receive routine in-service professional development focused on new information about how to work with all families. While you're considering that, let's get back to our panel of experts, and if you haven't already, now's the time to submit your questions to our panelists. Use the form on the webpage to submit your question about parental involvement, and don't forget to include your email address. With literally hundreds of participants registered, if we don't get to your question during this webcast, we'll do our best to answer you by email. Okay, now I want to turn to Helmer for a discussion about something called engagement